Can you say hi? Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today we're gonna talk about, can you say sensory bins? Say bins. Close enough. Anyway, today's video is going to be all about sensory bins. I have made a few Instagram posts in the past about sensory bins, and I always get quite a few messages after asking questions, and so I thought I would just put it all out here. The sensory bins have really transformed my 2-year-old's behavior for the best. I mean, they not only keep him busy when I'm busy, they also have slowed him down completely, which is so important when you have a really busy toddler. Slowing them down and just keeping them calmer is so useful for so many things. And what's been really great for my son Mac is that it slowed him down enough to focus on what's in front of him to teach him some new words and some new skills. If he's slowed down enough, well, then he can take in more information, which is just the best. We didn't really dive in deep until he was about 18 months old to 2 years old. That's when we really kind of grasped the concept of them and understood that you really need to teach toddlers how to use these sensory bins. And that's really when we started to see some progress in Mac's learning abilities, in his personality, in just really everything. They're soothing. I mean, I don't even mind sitting around and playing around with a sensory bin for a little bit. And you can really get creative with sensory bins. These are just a few ideas that we've used and love. And if you love these, I'll be sure to share and post more. Jumping right in, one of the first most basic ideas is a bin full of beans. You can use any color of beans. We chose to use white beans. I've also used red beans, and you can start really simple with just a few Tupperwares and some scoops. These I got the Target dollar section. Mac loves to pick up the beans with his hands and watch everything kind of fall into the Tupperware. He likes the sound that it makes. And then once they get a little bit more advanced and really figure out how to use the bin, then you can hide little animals, bury little treats in there, and Mac just loves that. He likes taking the animals, putting them in the Tupperware, covering them up. This buys me at least 20 to 30 minutes of time while I'm preparing food for the family for dinner. Pretty great. Another bin idea that I love are these bunchums. They're called bunchums, and you can get them pretty much anywhere. I'll also link them in my description bar below. But basically, they are these little Velcro-like little balls that stick together, and what you have to do is take the time to sit there and pull them apart. So kids are sitting there picking at them, pulling them apart. They like to squish them. They like how they feel when they're all together. They like how they feel when they're apart. Something that we've done with them is we will get out a muffin tin and have Mac separate the bunchums by color order. Black. So it's really taught Mac his colors, and it's taught him organization. And the great part about these bunchums is that if you're a little scared of a mess when it comes to some of these other sensory bin ideas, especially some of the ones I'll get into later in the video, they aren't that messy. They are very light. They stay very close by. If they fall out of the bin, they're easy to clean up, and obviously they stick together. So I really like these as a first sensory bin idea. The only thing you have to watch out for is obviously bunchums are not edible, they're plastic, so keep that in mind. Ooh, one of my personal favorites, kinetic sand. I just love it. I mean, this is one of the ones that I personally would play with myself, and I kind of do. Anyway, kinetic sand is so much fun because it's like bringing the beach indoors, and unlike regular sand or dirt that your kid's gonna play with outside, it sticks together. It's so much cleaner, and what's not to love when things are clean? My son likes to build little sand castles with them. We form kinetic sand blocks with Tupperwares. I give him different shaped Tupperwares, and he likes to make little bricks and squish them with his feet. He really likes the texture. I give him a melon ball scooper sometimes, and he can roll it all up. I use this tray a lot, also a great Target dollar section find, and he can just lay it all out and play with it however he wants. But you can also use a baking pan or any kind of tray that you have around the house. Kinetic sand also comes in many different colors, so if your kid is into looking at different colors and playing with that, that's also a lot of fun. My son seems to be quite happy with just the plain Jane old sand. And as your child gets more advanced, like my son Mac is now, and they've been playing with the kinetic sand for a while, something you can add is hiding little animals or little toys in the sand. We've just started adding sea creatures like fish. I just added a stingray that he affectionately calls Mr. Ray, like the Finding Nemo character. So the possibilities, again, really endless. This one, I'm going to warn you, is not for somebody who's extremely OCD unless you want to keep a vacuum really nearby. However, I have found that it really occupies my child probably longer than a lot of the other sensory bins. So what I love about rice is it has the same effect of beans, which is one of the most common fun sensory bins, and you can bury things in them. We like to bury shapes, but the difference between this and beans is it's obviously a much different texture. It feels different to the kids. It sounds different as they drop it from their hands and as they squish it between their fingers. What I like about rice is it occupies Mac a little bit longer because it takes a little bit more fine motor skills for him. The individual grains are a little bit harder to pick up for toddlers, so they are working on those fine motor skills, which I think is so important. But again, not for the faint of heart when it comes to messiness, because even Mac, who is a seasoned sensory bin player, you can see, made a mess here. What I do in order to not go crazy is I just keep a handheld dust buster nearby whenever we are going to play with the rice, and it's that simple. I vacuum it up. But before I do that, I actually give Mac a chance to pick up the grains and put them back in the bin, and you'll see me do this with all sensory bins. This really goes for all of the bins. Something that I learned very early on with sensory bins is you want to teach your kids to clean up after themselves. If something accidentally falls out of the bin or if they pour it out of the bin, you want them to learn, nope, it goes back in the bin. So from a very early stage, when we first started using the bins, I would take Mac's hand and physically put it over whatever fell out and pick it up and put it in the bin. I would teach him physically how to put things back. And obviously he doesn't mean it every time he makes a mess, so you know, if it gets out of hand, I'll come over with the dust buster. I just want to make sure he's part of the cleanup process and that he's learning things are supposed to be in the bin. That's where they belong. And this will make sensory bin play so much more fun for you as well as for your toddler, because you're not going to be hovering over them every 5 seconds. Another favorite sensory bin is slime. Slime comes in all sorts of colors. They add sparkles. You can add little styrofoam balls, which is what we have. And what's great about this is really it just speaks for itself. Keep it in a tub. A lot of the slime that is pre-made already comes in a tub, so it's easy to store. These little styrofoam balls came with this kind of slime, or you can buy it without it. Mac likes to pick the little styrofoam balls out and put them in a separate bin. You can also hide little figurines, little animals, other little toys and prizes for them to search for as they get more advanced. Slime, again, you want to keep an eye on your child because, once again, not edible, but pretty easy cleanup as long as it's thick. We've had our bucket of slime for about 6 months now, and it's still not completely gross. I mean, it's slime, so in that sense, yeah, I mean, it's gross. Anyway, slime. Slime's great. Okay, another that's not for the faint of heart when it comes to messes is Orbeez, or also water beads. They kind of have the same effect. I think they are pretty much the same thing. I just happened to purchase Orbeez because that's what I found. They're like little round, almost slime balls, but they're solid, and they have a very interesting wet texture that the kids just love to play with. Someone said that they're kind of like boogers. I think it was my husband. And they are kind of gross. But you have to keep in mind, for a toddler who is taking in the world through their senses, I mean, these are sensory bins, they feel really cool and really different. They don't feel things like this every single day, so they just love it. My son just likes to squish them through his hands. They also tend to bounce around a lot as your kids drop them into the bin, so I might consider getting a bin or a Tupperware with taller walls just to keep everything contained a little bit easier. Also, this is another instance where it's going to be really important to teach your child the rules of the bin, and if one happens to get out or get away, teach them to run, go get them, and put it back in the bin. Again, another item that's not edible, so make sure your child is a little bit older or that you are monitoring them.
Good job, yay!
Another great sensory bin item is pom-poms in water. In the summer months, we tend to fill up a big kiddie pool and have my son throw the giant fluffy pom-poms, or pom-poms really of any size, into the filled up kiddie pool with water. He loves the plop sound that they make. He loves distinguishing the different colors, so my son was able to learn his colors this way. He liked to squeeze the pom-poms and wring the water out with his hands. The other thing that we did with Mac, once he learned his colors with pom-poms, is we added the little foam numbers that you get at Target or on Amazon that you take in the bath. And we were able to teach him his numbers by throwing those in a pool and asking him, hey Mac, what number is that? What color is that? We haven't done this one in a while because, like I said, we've been using the kiddie pool for this, but we certainly can put pom-poms in water in a bin inside and start to play with that indoors, just on a smaller scale. Another bin that we just started using that kind of came out of left field is oatmeal. Yeah, oatmeal. I know it sounds kind of strange, but kids love it. It's a very different texture for kids. It's thin and it's flaky, so they like to rub it between their fingers, and when they drop it into another Tupperware or scoop it, it sounds and feels different than beans or rice or any other hard texture that you could use, any other hard textured sensory bin item, I mean. Oatmeal's a great one for a lot of the younger toddlers because it's safe and edible. A lot of the first food for toddlers is oatmeal. The other thing that's great about it is you can use simple utensils like spoons, or I like to use an ice cream scoop. And again, it works on those fine motor skills, teaching your child how to use a fork or a spoon or any kind of utensil, helping them to learn to eat at the table. And this is a PSA for anybody with pets out there. My dog and cat absolutely love to be around the sensory bins, and something we've struggled with in our home is the cat likes to sit and watch and sometimes sit in, get involved in the sensory bins. Isn't that right, Peanut? That's right. And the dog sometimes with the edible things actually will go and steal a bean or steal a piece of rice, and you just want to watch that. Anyway, these are just a few of the sensory bin ideas that we've absolutely loved and really utilized in the last few months. I have way more ideas, and if you like this video and want to see more like it, I can certainly make another sensory bin video. I just want to see how you guys feel about it. I have messier ideas, I have cleaner ideas, I have seasonal ideas, and I could definitely make more like this if you give this video a thumbs up and you share it and you subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Can you wave?